everyone, my name is Sammy and today I am going to do a flip through of my 2023 reading journal so far, so from January to May. To start off, this journal is an A5 dot grid from Notebook Therapy, and then I wanted to show a couple other supplies I use as well pretty regularly. So I use whiteout. This is the Tombow mono correction tape. I use this eraser. It's called Sumogrip. I use 2 sizes of the Pigma Micron 0.3 and 0.5. My main pen is the Writech Up Gel 0.5. And then I also use the Tombow Fudenosuke hard tip sometimes, and a pencil, and I use a lot of Crayola supertips. Then I also use some Tombow dual brush pens and sometimes Fineliners. And then lastly, I do have a HP Sprocket, which my sister kind of convinced me to get. Well, not really convinced me, but she had one and I saw her using it in her reading journal, and then I had to get one. And you'll see more how I use this later on. But for now, let's just get started with it. Oh geez, can't even open it. So this is my cover page for 2023. Honestly, I don't really love it. I kind of copied a bullet journal cover page from a previous year, but I don't like how I didn't center the words, but that is okay. And just a side note, this journal also has last year. There's not that many pages. I really didn't read that much last year. I think I read like 16 books total the whole year. So it wasn't a good year for reading, but that is okay. So I just continued in this journal because I didn't want to waste all the pages. But this is my cover page. And then next, we're going straight into my 2023 daily reading log. Let me zoom in a little. So I took this idea from somebody else. I'm not sure off the top of my head what their YouTube channel is, but I'll plan to try to find it and link it in the description. But basically, for every color is a certain amount of page numbers. So what I do is at the end of every month, I'll do the whole month, and it just kind of coordinates how many pages. So purple is 1 through 50, blue 51 to 100. This tan-ish color is 101 to 200 pages. Pink is 201 to 300 pages, and the green is 301 pages or more. And then the little numbers is when I finish a book. So I'll number every time I finish a book, and that just, I think, is interesting to see how many books, like how long it takes me to read books and that kind of thing. So this has been really cool. Like I said, after the month is over, I will just go through and do this for every single day because it's just a lot easier. Okay, so next is books read in 2023. So this is basically just a list of the books I read, and I like to just see the total books in a list form and just the star rating. And my goal this year was only 35 books, since last year I only read 16, so I didn't want to give myself a really high goal. And as you can see, I really have surpassed what I thought I was going to do this year. So I'm already at 30 books read. It's June now, so I think I'm gonna have to add a few more to this. But that is really makes me happy that I am reading more than expected. And then personally, I don't rate rereads. because I just like to rate when I first read a book, and then if I reread it, I know it's a good book because I wanted to reread it. Side note, if you just heard the doorbell ring, I'm sorry. I don't know who's ringing my doorbell right now. But yeah, so I just like to see this list version. Next, this is my TBR spread. So I have a huge problem with not reading books is really what I should be saying. I have a huge issue with buying books and then not reading the books on my shelf and then buying more books, and it just, you know, compounds. And then all of a sudden at the beginning of 2023 I had a total of 100 books on my physical TBR that I had not read. And so my goal this year was to really try to bring it down. I knew I wouldn't be able to bring it down to 0 because that's really ambitious. So of course I was just trying to bring it down. So I basically color in a box every time I read a book, with the goal of trying to get as far down as possible. So there's 100 boxes, I think, in here. And then I liked the idea of being able to see what genre it was, so I could see what genres I pulled from most from my TBR, or if there was like a certain order that I read genres, or did I read more of one than the other. So I made this little key to just show what each color means. And then the reason that these are all blacked out is because I did a pretty big unhaul. I had a lot of books from like 2020 and 2021 that I just kind of knew I was never gonna read. So I just said, okay, Sammy, like, let's just get rid of these books because you know you're never gonna read them. And so I am planning on donating those to a used bookstore that takes books, so that someone else can hopefully get those and read them. Next is my books bought and gifted section. This is for I just like to be able to see all the books I bought in the year. I made it this small originally so that I would not surpass this, and I ended up making another one of these on another page, which you'll see later. So clearly I've already bought way more books than I thought. This is kind of the key. So the B means bought, and then if there's a G, that means it was gifted, and then when I colored in, that means that I read that book. And then here I did a series tracker. I'm not gonna lie, I have barely used this. One, because I haven't really finished any of these series, and two, I have a more in-depth series tracker on my Notion, so this has become kind of like pointless to me. Like, I probably will not do this in next year's bullet journal or reading journal because it's kind of pointless, but that is what that is. Moving on. This is probably my least favorite pages. They're just like really chaotic, and I think there's too many colors, but I didn't want to redo them, so I just decided that I would be okay with how they look. So this is a buzzword challenge, which I got from Storygraph. I don't remember the person's name that created this, so I'll find it and I can link it. And that's where I got the prompts for each month. Basically, every month the goal is to try to read a book within this prompt. So far I've only done 3 months out of the 5. We'll see if I can continue that. And then this is kind of like the wrap up, which, again, this page is like so chaotic, so I don't like it at all, but we're just gonna go with it. So this is the kind of like a star rating tracker, so 1 star through 5 stars, and each box is just 1 book. Again, I didn't think I was gonna read this many books this year, honestly, so I'm gonna run out of room pretty quickly. The 3 stars are already pretty much taken up. And then this will be for the end of the year, my favorite book, and then total books read, pages, genres, my top genre, my average rating, and my reading days total out of the year. So that's always fun to look back on. And then this is a books read and pages tracker for each month. So the blue is how many books I've read, and the purple is the amount of pages. And again, I underestimated myself. So for April, I actually read 9 books and I ran out of space. And then May, I read 8 books. So if I continue this way, I'll remember this for next year, that I need to give myself more space. So that are those pages. And here's the continuation that I was talking about of books bought and gifted. I keep buying books, but you know, my happy place is Barnes & Noble, so it's fine. And then I did get gifted 2 books from my sister, so I'm excited to read those. And then for this page, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I'll come up with something, or I'll just leave it blank. We'll see what happens as the year goes by. And I've got a book of the year bracket. So I was torn between doing favorite book of the month and then putting them up against each other versus doing just 12 of my favorite books out of the year. But I decided just to do favorite book of the month because it was going to be a little bit easier. So this is what I've got so far. These are all fantasies and then 1 romance. So you can see where what my favorite genre is. And then, you know, once I get through the year, at the end of the year, then we'll go and find the best book of the year. So that will be fun when that happens. And now we're jumping straight into the monthly spreads. So for January, the way that I do it is I will use colored dots, different colored dots for each book. And when I read that book, I'll put the dots on the days. And then I am really into tracking how many pages I read. So I like to put the page numbers as well, or the page numbers, the amount of pages I've read every day. And I use my Notion again to help me track the page numbers. And then I like to just put all the books I read here. I just do the title, author, genre, pages, and my rating. And that's pretty much it for this. And it's similar for every month. I did stop doing the colored dot next to the title because it's really repetitive, because here's the color, the title, and then here's the color and the title up here. So it's kind of like, this is pointless. So I do end up not doing this, and you'll see moving forward. And then before we move on, following this monthly spread, I do my reviews. So I'm gonna flip through those, but I'm not gonna talk about them. I'm just gonna go quickly, and I will just point out my reviews are they're just for myself, so there's definitely going to be spoilers. So if you don't want to see spoilers, I don't recommend trying to read what I write because you're going to get a spoiler. So yes, I reread some of the Harry Potter books, the illustrated versions, and I was going to write about it, never did. This is what it looks like. And for February was a pretty slim reading month. And what I like to do if I have a lot of white space is I'll do a stats section for each month. So I can see this, you know, every month broken down, and then at the end of the year, then I'll do the whole year. So, and I always like to do kind of like a little easy, simple, like drawings or some doodles just to make it fun. So again, we're about to go into the reviews, and let me cover this up for a second. So this is what they all look like. So over here this is my regular printer, but in the future I start using the HP Sprocket, and I like to do a synopsis because it's kind of helpful when you go back to see like what was my favorite book of the month, to read the synopsis in case you kind of are like, what was that book about? Then I usually like to do my favorite character and the star rating, and then where my hand is covering, I'll do the review. So that's kind of the layout of this. I want to keep flipping, that way nobody sees spoilers. And March, again, a slim reading month. I don't even remember what I was doing in March that made me read only 3 books, but I did stats again just to fill up some white space, and as you can see, you know, this end of this month I barely read. And you know, that is okay. Sometimes you just don't have time to read and life takes over. And then, as I said before, when I do reread books, I don't rate them a second time, so that is why that's like that. And now into the reviews again. And for this one specifically, this is all just quotes, so there shouldn't be any spoilers in here. I printed, so this is the HP Sprocket. This is what it looks like when you print it. This is the exact size, and it comes like on sticky paper, so you just peel it and then you put it straight on there. And then this is a sticker from Redbubble, and then what I did, since it's a reread, I'm not gonna do a review because I've read this book like 4 times now or something like that. So I just did some of my favorite quotes, because when we did this reread, I went through and annotated and tabbed the whole book, and so that was really fun. And then I just put some of my favorite quotes on here. If you haven't read this book, I mean, this is a really popular book, so probably a lot of you have read it, but if you haven't and you're into YA fantasy, highly, highly recommend. This is probably one of my favorite books of all time, so yes. And here we are to April, where I read a lot more. Again, this is just the same as every other one you've seen. I ran out of room here, and I had reread The Raven Boys on Audible, and so since I ran out of room, I just put it over here. And then this little section, I started The Last Graduate at the end of this month, and I hadn't finished it yet, so it wasn't on here, but I just wanted to remember like what this color was, so that's why I put that there. And then we're into the reviews again. Again, if you don't want spoilers, don't read what I write. And let me cover that. This, I just did this in May. I wanted to start doing a monthly TBR, instead of just picking random books. I'm a big mood reader, so I can't always guarantee that I'm gonna want to read the books that I pick, but I did. I've watched a lot of Rachel Catherine's videos. I think that's her last name. And she pulls prompts out of a jar, and I really liked that idea, because then you can kind of pick and choose from your TBR. It's not like a set book. So that's what I started doing in May. And so you'll see like the gray highlighted is the prompt. So a book with a D in the title, and I picked Dune. A romance novel, I chose Bodyguard. A book with an S in the title, I chose Sharp Objects. So I like to remember the prompt. And then for these two was just me finishing a series, so that's why there's no prompt. And then I just did this in, excuse me, I just did this in June. For June, and again, I'm gonna finish the series, and then I picked some more prompts. This is me thinking I'm gonna read a lot of books, so hopefully I keep that trend going. But if anybody's interested in seeing me do like a video of picking my TBR for July, let me know, and I will definitely do that. Moving on to May, which just finished. For May, these drawings, man, honestly, I'm so shocked that I was able to draw these. I'm not the greatest artist, but I ended up using a tutorial from Amanda Rach Lee that she had on one of her like bullet journal videos that from like several years ago. She had a tutorial, and I literally followed the tutorial, and that is how these came out so well, surprisingly. Again, so May, I read 8 books. I ran out of room again, but I didn't finish. I started Wicked Saints on the 29th, and I didn't finish it, so I just, again, put it down here so I knew what color, and I did my stats, and yeah, this was a good reading month. This was the first time I had chosen my TBR, and I was able to get through all my TBR books. So my TBR books ended at Dune, and then I just got to choose 3 extra books just from my shelf. And then to the reviews now. And here we are at June, which is the current month. So this is more of like a showing the bare bones of what the spreads look like before I have read anything. So I always do a calendar, and I try to do some sort of doodle and a color scheme just because I think it's fun. And then I've read one book so far, and so I did a little strawberry instead of doing like numbers, and I'll just continue that throughout. And then that's pretty much, that's it. Everything each month is pretty much the same, but I really enjoy it. So what I'll just do for you guys now is just do one flip through where I won't say anything. That way anybody that wants to just see the flip through but doesn't want to hear me talk can just, you know, look at that. But just want to say thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If anybody's interested in seeing my Notion or in seeing flip-throughs of my previous reading journals, please let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to show. And now I'll just go ahead and flip through this, and I hope you guys enjoy.